Yesterday, in terms of the official announcements that President Trump has been making, he said, Attorney General, big role. He wants Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz to fill that role. That's his nominee. For more on that decision, let's bring in John Daniel Davidson now. He's a senior editor at the Federalist, and he joins us on the phone. Hello, John. Good to have you with us, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Okay, so in Washington, the official response is, no, no, no. They're just screaming. What is your response to this?
He seems like the perfect man for the job. The Department of Justice is totally corrupt and has become an instrument of tyranny in American public life, and it needs to be cleaned out. Mass firings, top to bottom reform. And Matt Gaetz, as somebody who has been a victim of DOJ lawfare over the past few years, is ideally suited to go in there and clean house. If he does nothing else as Attorney General, but clean house and get rid of the corrupt people and culture that have infected that place, he'll be doing the American people a great service.
So I was just quoting from your colleague, Molly Hemingway, and her great piece on this subject from a couple of years back. The FBI's Matt Gaetz operation sidelined an effective Republican voice at a crucial time. That was the point. And she takes us through all of the ways Matt Gaetz has been such an effective opponent to the left's plans, and the guy who is truly people don't appreciate this because the media lies to them so frequently about who Matt Gaetz is. He's truly a really bright guy. He's in fact one of the brightest member of Congress, and certainly one of the most capable guys out there. And they, on March 30th of 2021, the New York Times runs this big piece that was anonymously sourced saying that the Justice Department had launched an inquiry into Matt Gaetz for underage sex trafficking. And then a year and a half later, the Washington Post does a follow-up piece, and they say, they closed it. Career prosecutors recommended no charges for Matt Gaetz. But that whole thing, that stench that they created, John Daniel Davidson, it still lingers around Matt Gaetz as a result of the efforts that they undertook.
That was the whole point of it. That's the kind of lawfare that I'm talking about that's become endemic at the Justice Department. You know, that investigation was the predicate for the Democrat-run House Ethics Committee to launch this probe against Gaetz that is now the subject of a controversy about his confirmation hearings, whether or not this, because he resigned from Congress yesterday, so whether or not this, ethics investigation probe is going to see the light of day. Now, I'm sure that it's going to be leaked because the whole point of this entire thing was to destroy his reputation. And what better way to do that than to say that the Department of Justice is investigating you for being a pedophile sex trafficker? I mean, this stuff is so outrageous. It's hard to take it seriously, but it actually happened. Our Department of Justice actually did that and a bunch of worse stuff too. So look, we're in a bad spot here. We need to clean this thing up.
They've, of course, taken so many false allegations to ludicrous levels, but if they had the goods on Matt Gaetz, they would not have closed the investigation. They wouldn't have been, we recommend no charges. They would have hung this guy from the most visible post in America.
Totally. And look, the other thing to say about that is that the House Ethics Committee usually waits until there's actually some charges or, some a conviction or something has actually happened in the court system before they launch an ethics investigation like this. But instead, they immediately announced an investigation because, again, the point was twofold: to ruin his reputation by having the media be able to repeat every time Matt Gaetz' name came up that he's, under investigation for pedophilia and sex trafficking, and also to have this report hanging out there, sort of out there in the wind, this ethics probe, the hanging over his head. And that's exactly what's happened. And now we're seeing it come out again. Nobody's been talking about this probe, but now his name comes up again. It's just so obvious. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. We can't have a Justice Department that's run like this.
So what that means, what you have here is institutional Washington doing its best to make Matt Gaetz persona non grata, and it must frustrate them to no end that he's close to President Trump, because it seems like the only people he really has allegiances to are his voters in his district and President Trump. That's it. And That is the thing I think that drives them the craziest, because so many people who get big jobs, especially Attorney General of the United States,
Yeah.
they're part of the system. They're in. They
Yeah.
know the people. They've got people they protect. They've got people they go after. Gaetz, kind of on his own. He's not tied up with any of these guys.
Yeah, the last thing that the Justice Department needs under the Trump administration is some institutionalist, careerist guy, a Bill Barr type of, former attorney general or top-ranking DOJ official. That's not what we need, because the institution's totally corrupted. When people complain that Matt Gaetz isn't qualified, my question is, qualified to do what? Right? Business as usual? We can't do business as usual anymore. The Justice Department is a threat to the American people. It needs to be gutted, and if it can't be reformed, and I'm serious about this, it should be destroyed completely.
Yes.
Create something new. And same goes for the FBI. If we can't reform those places, we have to get rid of them.
So actually, in terms of what I care about here, and I don't know about you, John Daniel Davidson, but my perspective is I just want to know that Matt Gaetz will be effective at achieving that mission. And if he's not, I'd like him to be replaced with someone who is. But
Yeah.
that's where my core concern is when it comes to who should be Attorney General of the United States.
I agree. The portfolio for the incoming Attorney General has to be a single mission, which is to fix, clean out, fumigate DOJ. That's their goal. That if they do nothing else in that role, that's what they should do. And that's not the only agency for which that's true. There's a whole bunch of agencies that need that. But DOJ is one of the most powerful executive branch agencies. Literally, holds life and death in its hands over many, many Americans. That has got to be the goal. And I agree. If he can't do that for whatever reason, or if he's unwilling to do that, get somebody else in there who will do that. But
Yes.
that is the number one task.
So here's another question, though. If the standard is going to become that we measure people based on allegations about their bizarre sex lives, do you think we should judge all members of Congress based on that?
Yeah, let's have them publish their browsing histories.
I don't think that's going to go well. In fact, I actually don't want to do that because I don't want to know anything about it. I'm horrified by what we might discover.
Well, that's the thing. They accuse him of this stuff because they know that it's repugnant to normal Americans, but it's normal in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I just like it's pretty rich coming from especially the party of Jeffrey Epstein and P. Diddy. Like we're supposed to be like, oh, you know who's awful? It's Matt Gaetz. Why is Matt Gaetz awful?
Yeah, right.
Exactly. Like what? Can you be
Tell
specific?
us more, J-Lo.
Yeah. What is this? Are you happy on a bigger picture scale? Are you happy so far with the appointments President Trump has made? And are you measuring your happiness based on the hysterical reactions of the left?
I think the hysterical reactions of the left are a good gauge. The more they rend their garments and cover themselves in sackcloth and ashes, the more that President Trump is on the right track. I am very pleased with the selection so far. I think that this is a correction from what a big mistake was in the first Trump presidency, which is that Trump was an outsider to Washington. He didn't totally understand how it worked, and he relied on a lot of institutionalists for these key roles, and they had to get rid of them halfway through his first term because they weren't carrying out his agenda, and they were actually obstacles to what he wanted to do. And he kind of had to learn the hard way. This time, he's going, right out of the gate with the right people who understand the need for reform, especially after what we've seen the last 8 years. He's got a short window to get these people in and to wreck things, and that's what he's got to do. And I think he understands that. So I'm very happy with all the names so far.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, hopefully some more good names ahead. In the meantime, John Daniel Davidson from the Federalist with what an excellent website. Great to talk to you today, sir.